There is a podcast that lies between the imagination of two simple-minded earthlings. Travel with these two longtime friends, Jimbo and 80s E, as they attempt to explore the fifth dimension. Follow along with them as they take the key and unlock the door to the vast space between shadow and substance. This podcast is one of trivia, of insight, and of sounds and ideas from one of the greatest television shows ever produced. You are embarking on a timeless journey. There is your signpost up ahead. You are entering the tragedy of cinema's Twilight Zone.
The time is the space age. The place is a barren landscape of a rock-walled canyon that lies millions of miles from the planet Earth. The cast of characters, you've met them. William Fletcher, commander of the spaceship. His co-pilot, Peter Craig. The other characters who inhabit this place you may never see, but they're there, as these two gentlemen will soon find out, because they're about to partake in a little exploration into that gray shaded area in space and time that's known as the Twilight Zone.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tragedy of Cinema podcast, the Twilight Zone series. I'm your host, Jimbo, and tonight I'm joined once again by Bond from Texas and 80Z from the west side of Indianapolis.
What's up, everybody?
Fellas, welcome to
How's
the
it going?
Twilight
How's it going?
Zone. So today we come to one of those episodes where I'm pretty sure we're all not going to agree again, because that's just what happens. It's usually with just me and ADZ, because those are some of the funnest episodes we do, because the banter back and forth, trying to persuade the other one. And it's worked on Eric once or twice where I've drawn him to the good side, but I don't think he's ever convinced me yet.
See if it can work again, right?
Yeah, well, we're going to do our hardest try right now. I got Bond with me. We're going to try to convince you that this is a good episode. So, 80s, take it away, the little people.
Little People, the Twilight Zone, season number 3, episode number 28. And regardless of what you think, I'm going to give the IMDb rating. Jimbo says it makes me not be
Influenced.
Yeah, I'm influenced too much by the IMDb rating. But this one comes in at a 7.8. This is episode number 28. As I said earlier, it's directed by William F. Claxton, and it was written by Rod Serling. This one had an original air date of March the 30th, 1962, and the production costs are kind of down for this one a little bit. It came in at $43,563.88. I thought a rocket would be more expensive than that, and there's a rocket in this episode, but it was only $43,000.
It was probably stolen from an old black and white movie where he just lifted it in public domain.
Probably. So there was only one day of rehearsal for this one. There was very small cast, so that kind of makes sense. And that was September the 19th, 1961.
Oh, that was a cruel joke. Small cast. That's not right.
Oh, let's be better than that.
Yeah, come on, Eric.
So the dates of filming for this one, there are 3 dates of filming for this one, the 20th, the 21st, and 22nd of 1961. And as it relates to March 30th, 1962, our original air date, we're going to come to our favorite segment in the episode, this segment that we like to call On This Day in History. So for On This Day in TV, film, and music history. Yes, we have music too. I think we have music in this one. So March the 30th, let's go way back to 1967. And the cover picture for the Beatles album entitled Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, the iconic album photographed. It was that cover photo was photographed by one guy named Michael Cooper. So it's kind of a big deal. So if you're familiar with the Beatles and their work, that's when that picture was taken. So March the 30th, 1981, debuted the movie Chariots of Fire. Have both of you guys seen Chariots of Fire?
Dun, 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 dun,
Oh, yeah.
dun.
Oh, yeah.
Story of Eric, what's his name? Eric Liddell, I believe, is what the movie was based on. It was directed by Hugh Hudson, and it starred Ben Cross and Ian Charleston. and it premiered at the Royal Command Film Performance. And it won Best Picture in 1982. And March the 30th, 1981, this is some homegrown trivia. The 43rd NCAA Men's Basketball Championship. Indiana beats North Carolina 63-50. The Hoosiers' future Hall of Fame point guard Isaiah Thomas is named tournament's most outstanding player.
Zeke.
And March the 30th, 2001, at 15 years, 9 months, American swimmer Michael Phelps breaks the 200-meter butterfly world record at the U.S. World Championship trials in Austin, Texas. How far is Austin from you, Bond? I know Texas.
About 250, 300 miles,
Okay.
which means it's right around the corner.
Yeah, I'm kidding. So with that, he becomes the youngest male to set the world record mark. So interesting sports trivia.
He was going to break more records, but then he got high.
Yeah.
That's true. That boy's built like a fish.
Yeah, no
Out of
kidding.
water.
So I think I have 3 birthdays. March the 30th, 1937, Warren Beatty, the American actor.
I like him.
Bonnie and Clyde, Shampoo, Dick Tracy.
Dick Tracy.
Born in Richmond, Virginia in 1937. And he's still with us. March the 30th, 1940, NBA center and Olympic gold medalist. And 1960, New York Nick. Actually, he was an Olympic gold medalist in 1960. He was a New York Knickerbocker. One Jerry Lucas was born in 1940. He was born in Middletown, Ohio. And here's a famous birthday, March 30th, 1945. English singer and guitarist Eric Clapton of the bands Cream, with the notable song Sunshine of Your Love, and Derek and the Dominoes, and Layla, and Tears in Heaven. That's probably more my speed. I remember Tears in Heaven was like, I think I really released him when I was in high school. So Clapton was born in Ripley, Surrey, England, March the 30th, 1945. And that wraps up our trivia segment. I'm going to throw it over to Bond and ask him to please give us the cast of this stellar episode.
Hey, this is an easy one because there's only like 2 guys in the whole episode. If you don't count some at the very, very end. Our first character, our first member of our cast today is Joe Moross. He plays Peter Craig. Now, he's actually been in another episode of Twilight Zone. You could see him in the episode Third from the Sun. He's also on the Mission Impossible, Fugitive, Outer Limits, Gunsmoke, Hawaii, Bonanza. He was in episodes of Wonder Woman. So pretty much if you watch TV in the 70s, you saw this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Another big one is Claude Akins. Claude Akins plays the other astronaut, William Fletcher. He's actually from Indiana, so you guys might know him.
Really?
What does it say? What city?
Bedford.
Okay.
South.
Yeah, I don't know where that is compared to you guys, but yeah, he's from Bedford, Indiana. He was also in another episode of The Twilight Zone. He was in one of my favorite episodes of all time, Monsters Do on Maple Street. He was the star and leading role in The Misadventures of Sheriff Lobo from 1979 to 81. He was in the movie From Here to Eternity, Rio Bravo, Magnificent Seven Part 2, Return of the Seven, Battle for the Planet of the Apes, and he makes guest appearances in Gunsmoke and The Rifleman too during the 70s.
Chuck Connors.
And that's really our cast. It's just 2 astronauts, Peter Craig and William Fletcher.
Yes, it is a small cast indeed. So let's talk about the plot of this episode, all right? When a spacecraft makes an emergency landing on an unknown planet, Commander William Fletcher is anxious to get underway again as soon as possible. Not so for his navigator, Peter Craig, who is an insubordinate, and he is fed up with taking orders all of the time. While Fletcher makes repairs to the ship, Craig explores the area around them and is astonished to find that there are living beings there, only a fraction of the size of humans. Soon he is being recognized by them as a god and refuses to leave when the ship is ready. He is to realize that one's place in the universe is a relative thing. And this was by Gary MCD of IMDb, wrote that plot summary there. So let's launch right into our episode here. Act 1, I'm calling that Arrival and Discovery. So we have a setup. There are two astronauts, Captain William Fletcher, the level-headed leader, and Peter Craig, the arrogant co-pilot. They land on a remote, uncharted planet for repairs to their spaceship. Tensions are high between the two, especially due to Craig's resentment toward authority and desire for power. Anything stick out to you guys in the very beginning?
Well, yeah. Why is there only two people on this spaceship? Number one.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to ask is, were they the only two survivors? Or were they just the only two people on the spaceship?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we don't know. That's all we see is two guys. It would seem like with just a crew of two people, it'd be kind of hard to manage a rocket ship. But we have an inciting incident right here up front in act number 1. While Fletcher works on fixing the ship, Craig explores the area and makes a startling discovery. As I said in the plot, a civilization of tiny people or humanoids, no more than a few inches tall. And he hikes up into the wilderness area of the planet or whatever, and he finds like a stream, right? That's only like half a mile long or so many football fields long and like 2 feet wide or something like that. But he keeps it to himself. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. So before he does that, these two, I mean, you could tell they don't really like each other, and they just have to exist together. And of course, Craig, he doesn't like taking orders from anyone, and it's constant pushback. I mean, it must have been a real treat to be on that spaceship. Yeah, Bond, go ahead.
So are you Team Peter or Team William? Like, is it William Fletcher? Is he being too demanding, and Peter Craig's just fed up with it at this point, or the other way around?
Well, let's face it. We've all had those people that were put in a position over you, whether it's your immediate boss or their boss, and you're like, well, this is stupid. I could do it better than them, right?
Yeah, how long were they at space where this guy was getting on his nerves about every little thing?
Is it William's fault they're stranded? And Peter thinks he could have done it better where they wouldn't have been stranded. Because he's like, how long is this going to take? You know, like, hey, we've done this before. Oh, why? We're eating this food again? Nah.
Well, if you remember, like, there is some pushback by Fletcher, like, because Craig's like, why do we have to be here? I'm paraphrasing, of course. We'll hear from Craig in a minute. But Fletcher says something like, yeah, we could have done a lot better. We wouldn't have had to land if all those meteorites wouldn't hit the front of our spaceship. He kind of makes like a side comment as they're kind of arguing back and forth. And of course, Craig, he hates, again, taking orders, and he has like this God complex. Like he just wants to be independent of himself and sovereign of anything. So let's hear from him. You kind of get a taste here in this clip of like what he wants out of life and what he desires.
Try this one, Fletch. I'd like a whole lot of people at my elbow. The more, the merrier. The louder, the better. And I'd like Yankee Stadium right alongside.
So that just gives you an insight on what Fletcher has to deal with in Craig. This guy is constantly, pushing back and wants to do his own thing. So we really get an inside look at his character. So while Fletcher works on fixing the ship, he explores the areas we said earlier. And Craig's reaction, he's obsessed with the idea of being a god. Once he discovers this tiny civilization of people, he is obsessed with this idea of being a lowercase g god, and he begins to lord over these tiny people, and he demands their worship and destroying parts of their city to assert his dominance. And he refuses to help with the repairs, and he sort of becomes consumed with the delusions of grandeur. And he just describes them as a whole race of people no larger than ants. And there's one scene where Craig begins to stomp on the little people's like civilization.
Right, but I think you're missing the point where William comes out there and he's like, well, you don't even look like you're thirsty. He said, you haven't even touched your canteen. He's like, did you find water up there on the trail? He's like, well, not exactly. He's like, I found vegetation and followed it. And so there's some contention there already.
Yeah. That's how he comes to discover. And he wasn't going to share that information with Fletcher.
Mm-mm.
He was going to keep that all to himself because he didn't want to eat those MREs or whatever they, you know,
rations.
Yeah.
But that's kind of crazy right there in itself. If you're stranded on that planet and you find a water source, it seems to me like you would tell the other guy, hey, I found water. Whether or not he decides to drink out of an alien creek is up to him, but you don't have to show him the exact area where the civilization is.
Well, I think
you could show him something upstream or downstream from there.
I'm pretty sure he's trying to kill the other guy that way. Like, oh, he's going to run out of water, and then I ain't going to have to worry about him anymore, and I'm still going to be the god over these little people.
Yeah.
So how do you think he discovered these little guys? Do you think he went down to get a sip of water and scooped up a whole,
if you
like a boat or something?
If you remember, I believe it's in the opening scene. He actually hears them. Do you remember the sound? And they're like the little chatter.
Oh, they make little squeaky sounds.
Yeah,
right.
Like little, because they're speaking a language. Because remember, he says, I can't understand them. They can't speak our language. I can't speak their language. He's like, but we're communicating through what? Mathematics and something else.
Right. Well, then this is the part now when I'm just viewing it right now where he brings back the little truck and they put it under the microscope. He brings it to Fletcher and then they look and they can see the small vehicle after it's magnified and stuff.
Is nobody going to dibs that prop?
No, I don't claim a prop before the end of the episode.
Anything else in Act 1 that stuck out?
It seems to me like the alien civilization is in 1950s, 1960s, based on the make and model of the truck.
Yeah, right.
I'll say this right here, right now. This is one problem I have with the episode. I don't understand why they couldn't have filmed people forced perspective to show the little people. And I'm getting ahead of myself, but at the end of the scene, you remember, or end of the episode, the two bigger guys than the human. Why couldn't they have done that from a viewpoint of the little people to the astronaut that's there now? I think that was a missed opportunity. Yes, you have the car, but it would have been nice to see some people scurrying around down there.
Yeah, yes. I would imagine that's probably just a cost to budget.
Yeah, but that's what I was thinking too. That's just a budget thing. It's like we could just show a little toy car in his hand.
Yeah.
But he had to see the car through a magnifying glass, a microscope, just to see the car.
Right.
So how big are the people that get in the car?
They got to
get in the truck.
They got to be
small,
super tiny,
real tiny,
microscopic. Yeah.
Organisms.
All right, let's move on to Act 2 and talk about power corrupts. So the rising action here in the episode is Craig escalates his tyranny, setting himself up as a self-proclaimed deity of the miniature civilization. Fletcher is disturbed by Craig's behavior, urging him to leave the little people alone and return to Earth. And there's a turning point that comes in, right? In Act 2, they get the ship fixed, right? Fletcher fixes it, and he insists that, hey, man, it's time to go. We got to get off this planet. But Craig refuses, choosing to stay behind and rule the tiny people. Fletcher is fed up, and he says, all right, I'm going to leave you on the planet, and he takes off alone. And it's at this time, and we can all discuss, I'll let you guys discuss, the little people build this statue of Craig overnight, right? The cool statue. So go ahead and let's talk amongst yourselves about that.
Oh, here's my thought process on this. Number one, I got a feeling that the little people are actually pretty smart. This alien race is pretty smart because if they're communicating through mathematics, I mean, addition's hard for me. Okay, let's face the facts. But, you got PEMDAS and all that. And I'm sure they're using these quasi whatever equations to help build this. I mean, these guys probably built the pyramids of Egypt here on Earth, the way they put them things, that statue together. But then it makes you wonder how many of them are there? Are they like termites where there's just, or ants where there's just zillions of them, but it did take them all night to build it. What was it, 12 hours, I think he said, or 24 hours, something like that. But I think it's a missed opportunity not exploring the little people even further.
Yeah.
I think it'd have been great if the statue they built for him was like 3 inches tall.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Yes.
look, we built this monument to our God, and he's only 3 inches tall.
But I think he told him what he wanted.
Yeah.
I think he said, make it in my image, kind of like, God, where he's like, don't make anything, a graven image.
Graven image, yeah.
And they build it exactly. If you look, it's exactly his height. It's exactly what he's wearing.
Right.
So,
Physics and mathematics, though, like to Bond's point, could they build one life size? If they're microscopic, how would they even be able to pull that off in 24 hours?
Just materials alone.
Right. How is that even possible?
I think it's impressive that Craig was able to go from a giant creature that crushes part of their village or town or city or whatever you want to call it to a god instead of like a Godzilla. You know what I'm saying? Because this giant foot comes down and starts crushing parts of the city. That's Godzilla. That's not God.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was able to turn them into like now they're worshiping him because I guess they fear their God. They're God-fearing people because they build this huge monument to him. And the thing's like actual size. It's like 6 foot something.
Yeah. They build it to appease him, maybe. So that he doesn't smash with his space boots. He doesn't smash all over their civilization anymore.
yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to Act 3, unless you guys have any other things from Act 2. We'll move on to Act number 3. We'll talk about Pride Before the Fall. So there's a new conflict as Craig basks in his godhood. 2 alien astronauts appear. They suddenly arrive, dwarfing both Craig and the tiny civilization. Craig's sense of power evaporates as he realizes he is now the little person. And then we reach the climax of our episode. The giants are indifferent to Craig's pleas and accidentally crush him like an insect, mirroring the callousness that Craig showed to the tiny people. And then the final resolution, one of the giant alien picks up Craig's crushed body and tosses it aside, saying something like, "Look at that,
I loved it.
Yeah. And the camera pans back to the tiny civilization, now free of Craig's tyranny. And then Rod's narration enters, and he closes with a reflection on hubris, power, and perspective, the hallmarks of the themes of the Twilight Zone. All right, what about Act 3?
I like when I think it's William and him are talking. He's like, I'm not going back. And he's like, well, look at you. And he rips the head off the statue, right?
Oh, yeah.
And, tosses it on the ground or whatever, or the helmet or whatever. And then later on, Peter takes it and just takes the helmet and puts it on top of the statue with no head from his head. Remember, he takes it off, sets it on top of the head. I'm dying laughing there.
Oh, the helmet?
Yeah. It's hilarious.
What do you think the material that they made it out of? Was it sand? Like
it has to be like probably because you have the water source there and you have sand. I would say it's just muddy.
That's what it kind of looked like.
Yeah.
It looked like a sand, like a some kind of weird concrete sand version of a thing.
Now
I like the fact that when the giant spacemen grab him and he's shouting, "Don't you understand? I'm a god.
Yeah.
I'm a god."
I know that is.
it kind of reminded me of Loki in the Incredible Hulk when he's like,
"Oh
puny
yeah,
god," it smashes him. But here's a thought to ponder. So William had just taken off in his little rocket, right?
Mm-hmm.
How big of a rocket ship does the other guys that come in have to land?
Oh, enormous.
That's what I'm saying. So when you see this little, I wonder if they see this little bitty rocket ship take off, right? About the size of a toothpick.
Like Austin Powers.
Yeah.
But not only that, but how big is this planet?
Right.
Because if the little bitty microscopic people live on this planet, and then you have the people that are, let's say they're supposed to be our size, live on, they look like normal size on the planet, and then these super giants end up on this planet. How big is the planet itself?
Yeah,
Right.
but what did the giants say at the end of this episode? Do you remember?
They're just here to gas up.
We're not here to explore. We're here to gas up. So what else is on this island or this planet?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These little microscopic people have no concept of what, where they are.
Right. And the giants must live on like a supernova star, like in the cosmos. If you've ever watched the relationship to the Earth, to the sun, and they just keep going to Alpha Centauri, and they keep,
Yeah, it's bigger and bigger and bigger.
Just get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Well, it's kind of like this. So when you step outside, let's say you're having a cookout and you drop a piece of a bun from your hot dog on the ground, right? And you see all these ants, you just start coming over here to your bun, right? And they're ripping it apart and everything. And then your dog or cat comes over to those ants, right? That's the thing I'm getting. And then what happens? You come over. So that's the perspective I got from this. You have the ants to the animal size that are humans to these giants that are like us. That's the easiest way I can explain it.
What if we Earthlings are the microscopic people?
Right.
What if we are the microscopic people? Because when we watch the episode, we tend to think that we are like Craig and Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's supposed to be us. But what if we're not? What if we're the microscopic little people?
Or what if we're the giants?
We might be giants.
Right.
Giants in our own mind. It's a really good perspective about humility and understanding, like the old saying, I think my dad probably used to say it, no matter how tough or big you think you are, there's always someone bigger than you.
The bigger they are,
Perspective.
the harder they fall.
Yeah.
That's what makes this episode so great.
Yeah. Okay. I'm seeing you work there. All right, let's talk about a few trivia points unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about in Act 3. No?
No, you're good.
There you go.
Okay. The rocket launch depicted was in reality a test flight of Mercury Atlas booster that was quite timely. This episode aired about a month after NASA's John Glenn became the first astronaut to attain Earth's orbit with or in such a rocket. So that must have been like some stock footage of that John Glenn mission.
Allegedly.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I don't know, man.
I don't either.
Both of the main actors in this episode were veterans. I think Bond mentioned that earlier. Joe Moras, he was Third from the Sun, and Claude Adkins was Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. The weapons and Giants uniforms were reused from the movie Forbidden Planet, 1956.
Great movie.
Which has already been covered by this one establishment, this podcast, The Tragedy of Cinema. The uniforms worn by Fletcher and Craig not only originated from the MGM costume department, but were used previously in the episode The Lonely. I think The Lonely was in season number 1, if you're keeping track. The helmet Fletcher wears is the same featured in The Lonely as well. Only noticeable changes during the 2 years between filming of the episodes where the helmets were altered. They altered the color and the side attachments of the helmet, but the helmet shell, I guess, was essentially the same. Along with The Invaders, 1961, and A Stopover at a Quiet Town in 1964, this is one of 3 episodes to feature a giant race of aliens. So we got another one coming later in Stopover in a Quiet Town, and that's, I think, in season 4, maybe season 5. On December 21st, 1961, the miniature trick involving the body of Craig in the hand of one of the giants was accomplished by Jack Glass and his camera crew against black backing. The inserts were shot at 9:30 in the morning. The same trick was applied to the miniature truck in the hand. So they had a little camera trickery going on there with those particular shots. Got a couple of goofs. When Craig shows Fletcher the truck in his palm, it's so small, it's almost microscopic, yet when they show a close-up of Craig's foot stepping on the village, the vehicles are about an inch long. Mm-hmm. So there's kind of some disparity in size there, I guess is what they're saying.
Maybe they're just driving the 16-person van on the ground.
Yeah, maybe. So Craig shows Fletcher a truck that he found in Little People's Community. It was so small it could only be seen with the microscope. But again, the microscope was at the spaceship, so there's no way that he could have seen it with his naked eye. So how would he see it to pick it up, to bring it back? Because he doesn't have
I like that one
with him. So that's kind of a little goof there. And then finally, Craig tells Fletcher that the population of little people don't understand their language, as Jimbo talked about earlier, yet he doesn't understand theirs, yet he has been communicating with them and told them how they got there and what it's like on Earth and how advanced we are. So if they can't understand Earth language, but yet he's saying, well, I've already communicated with them and told them how we got here and all that stuff. So that's kind of a...
Yeah, but maybe that was just trying to build trust with them. even though they don't understand, hey, this guy's actually not destroying our stuff. He's actually talking to us. Could have been a little sign of trust, I think.
So, yeah, but like if he had previously said that they don't understand anything, but they communicated through mathematics. But
right,
yeah,
because if you remember, they said that he said that he showed them where the water was and also the vegetation. He's like, yeah, I pretty much ate it all, their whole forest in one mill or whatever. But they were actually showing him, what they have. So I think that was a pretty good sign.
Unclear on like how much the communication there, how much they could understand, how much they couldn't. All right, questions and observations. Let's. I'll just throw this first question out. What does this episode suggest about the nature of power? Does power reveal who someone is, or does it create a new, darker version of them? What do you guys think?
I think this guy was already dark to begin with. He was already talking about world domination and being a leader. And he didn't sound like he was going to be a good leader. It didn't sound like it sounded like he wanted to overpower people. He wanted to control other people. So given that opportunity, he was able to just live out what he already believed. I don't think it made it worse. I think he was already like that to begin with.
Right. But I think you've also got to look at it from the perspective of the pilot, William guy. What's he trying to do? He's trying to get everybody home safely. Even this guy that's treated him like crap. He's like, come on, you're going back. We're leaving. We got to go. And that's when Peter pulls out the gun on him, or laser, or whatever you want to say. Mm-hmm. So even in the midst of all the struggles and arguments and fights, the pilot, the captain, was still trying to do the right thing and get him back home to his family.
Yeah, I don't know where I fall on that one. That's a really hard question. I think it's kind of like money. I guess, a lot of people think that they win the lottery, that all their problems are going to be over and that they're going to, all their bills are going to be paid. And what do we learn about people who win the lottery, who are on the lower end of the financial spectrum? They keep their same tendencies and their same behaviors. They just have a lot more money to do it with. And a lot of them, I don't know what the percentage is, but a lot of them end up just broke back right where they started because they go and blow all their. So I don't know what it is in people that, why they have this obsession with being worshipped. I don't know if it's psychological insecurities or whatever that drives people's behavior. But here, Craig, I don't know. I think personally it was a little over the top in the acting, but I guess you could see those tendencies in some people, but maybe not so pronounced. Usually people don't just hit you right with it, like he does in the episode. Like, hey, I want to be worshipped. I don't tell me what to do, and I don't care what you think about me or my character. I'm just going to lay it all out there for you. But yeah, yeah.
True. I think that if even if he said, "Yeah, I think I'm going to go back," I don't know if I'd want to travel back in a spaceship with this guy. Right. After you find out he's been, hiding a secret water source. He's been pretending like he's God to this other civilization. He didn't help you fix the ship at all. I mean, I'm not saying he knew how to fix it, but man, hand me a tool or something every once in a while. At least stick around and pretend like you're helping.
Do you guys think Do you guys think he would have faced like court-martial or something when he got back?
Yeah, how could he not?
Right.
Right when he pulled the gun, I would say yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just being a jerk or just wanting to stay there, no. But the second he pulls that laser gun.
All right, final question. Is the ending satisfying justice or just more indifference from the vast universe? Craig is punished, but the Giants are so unfeeling as he was. What does it say about power structures? And it's the old saying, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? So that's kind of, we all are sort of cynical about power structures and people in authority, and we always think, a lot of times we think that they have bad intentions from the start. So that sort of reaffirms that in this episode, kind of.
That's a hard one, man. Yeah. That's a hard one. Just because I think it's a mixture of both. The super big giant guys, they're totally indifferent to what happened. It's no different than if you accidentally kill a bug.
Yeah.
When you're picking up a bug, or if their bug lands on your arm, and you mean to brush it away, but instead you accidentally kill it. I think that's the way they felt to him. But the way he felt to the little people, the way Craig was behaving with them, he was fully conscious of what he was doing. He knew exactly that he wanted to control them. He wanted to be their god. There was no indifference there. He knew exactly what kind of power he wanted to hold over those guys.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Were the giant people aliens or were they humans? Because what do they say when they pick up the guy? They say, "Oh, look, it's a tiny human." Right? That's what they say when he's in the palm of their hand.
So they're all humanoid, from the tiniest creatures to the biggest creatures, I think.
Yeah, I never really considered.
They're all the same basic humanoid
and I don't
structures.
know where your guys' thoughts went with this, but I'm going to say this because this is what it reminded me of. So after, is his name Peter, the guy that's got the God complex, after they toss him down, and at the end of the episode, what happens? The tiny people are pulling down the statue, right? They got like ropes around and pulling it down. And I couldn't help but think back to like Desert Storm or whatever, or even, when we were over in Iraq and we pulled down the Saddam Hussein statue.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's where my mind reverted back to, because an evil tyrant, had a statue made of himself pretty much, and then the people overthrew it. And I thought that was really great.
It looked exactly like the Saddam Hussein image of them tying ropes around, like pulling it down. Right. It looked exactly the same. And that brings up the point that even though Craig thought he was a god in their eyes, obviously the little people didn't feel the same way.
Right.
Because the second he was dead, they pulled it down.
Right.
Right.
There was no mourning or sadness for the death of their god.
Nope.
Right.
Right.
It was the celebration of a tyrant.
I just didn't know if you guys had put two and two together with that. That was where my thought process was through that as well.
I agree on that one.
Yeah, I didn't really pick up on that, but now that you mention it, I remember all those videos of Saddam's statue coming down, the people jumping for joy, and very similar. All right, Jimbo, you want to wrap it up? That's all I've got as far as questions and observations.
Oh, no. I'm going to let Bond go first to give his feelings, ratings, reviews. Then we're going to go to A to Z, and then I'll close it with my thoughts and feelings and rating.
All right, two quick things, man. One, Twilight Zone radio drama had this episode.
Oh.
They had Fletcher. They changed the name of Craig to Knopf, and they added another character. A female computer voice was added to this one. That was like the ship's computer. Yeah, like a HAL version, right? Also, this episode came out in an episode of The Simpsons. It was in the Treehouse of Horror 7, where Lisa loses a tooth, and she puts the tooth in like a little petri jar of Coca-Cola for a science project, and it grows into a little miniature society, and they worship Lisa as a god. And so I thought that was pretty cool that The Simpsons did a play on this for one of their Treehouse of Horrors. I like this episode. Like I said in some of the episodes past, I like the ones that have creatures and monsters and stuff like that in it. Although this one didn't have a three-eyed octopus or anything like that. It does have aliens. It does have creatures in it. As an adult, I'm watching this one going, the perspective of things bothers me. The truck and the statue, the perspective of how big or small are these people. But that's just nitpicking. I think this episode's fun. It's got some deep thoughts behind it when it comes to power. And it's a good thing that I'm not God. Is when I was watching it, I was thinking that it's a good thing I'm not God. Because this is what happens when you give godlike powers to people on Earth. It goes to their head and they become power hungry. That's why we have the absolute power quote.
Yeah.
I like this episode. I think it is a good 7, a strong 7. It's not one of my favorite episodes of all time, but as I was watching this, I was enjoying a lot of it. I am not going to pick the truck as my prop because I know that that's what you expect of me.
You're taking the military ration, aren't you?
No, I want the helmet.
Oh, you stink. That's I should have dibsed it earlier.
Yeah, I want the helmet. And but that's my thoughts. That's my overall idea. I give it a 7. I think it's a great episode.
All right, 80s.
I'm going to come in below a 7, but I think it's another one of those episodes. I think for me that when I watch it again and again, it kind of grows on me a little bit. I do think Peter Craig, the acting, it was a little bit, with his Elvis curl in the front, and his overacting and looking to the sky. I'm the god. I mean, that was a bit much for me, but I go to that same place where Bond, like the philosophical and the considering, even theological thoughts that come through in this episode. I do tend to like those, and I agree with Bond. I was really glad that human beings aren't gods, because look what a mess we've made of it already. So I think those themes really struck a chord with me as well. And that's the high point. Some of how they've executed some of the little people, I could nitpick too with some of those things, but I try to give them cut them a little slack for, this was the 1960s and they were on a budget, and, they had to do with what they had. So I'm gonna come in at a 6, and it's not my favorite, but it's not a terrible episode, but I wouldn't consider it one of my favorites. Jimbo?
Eric, what was your prop?
I'm going to take the space boots, the stomping on civilization space boots. I think they were the ones from for Forbidden Planet, so I'm going to take those.
All right, now the moment everybody's been waiting for.
Yeah, we're on
eagerly anticipating. All right, so the problems I had with the episode, number one, I wanted to see more of the little people, possibly looking up at this guy demanding to be their god. Even when they, maybe show a couple of them like sweating, really, I think about like the Israelites in the Bible, like, just being whipped, and, because you probably have some really mean guys on the ground, like, look, we got to get this done. They just killed half our colony over here, beating them, trying to get them to get this statue built. Give me something like that. It doesn't have to be fancy. It could be stick figures. I don't care. But at least it kind of could have been sea monkeys for all I care. Okay. Just let me see what they look like. And let me see, like, maybe have like a little boardroom with the guy with a diagram with like all these mathematical equations on there, like X equals Y, and then have like the statue drawing on the board or something. So
you want this whole episode done from the little people.
Exactly. How awesome would that be? It was. Well, the medium people, I guess. I didn't like the whole point of contention between the two guys. The one guy was just way too whiny. The other guy overworked and underpaid. I totally get his thought process too. Like, why did they send me out here with this guy? What did I do to deserve this? I've tried saving his life. We hit meteors. What more does he want me to do? I'm just trying to get us back up on our ship and get us out of here. This guy, the other guy, he's had problems for a long time. He probably didn't do well in school. Probably got kicked out. Probably got sent to a boarding school. And he has an ego that just won't quit. Therefore, the God complex. I did like the statue. I think it was pretty well done. I like the two big giant guys. I think they're hilarious because they just pick him up and like, oh, look, a tiny human. And they just toss him, man. And I just think, how often do we do that in our life? You know what I mean? And not just physically. What about, like friendships? Sometimes you get, somebody, comes to you like, oh, here they come again, man. I really don't want to talk to them again. And you brush them off, right? Yeah. They're dead to me.
Hey, you invited me on the program. That was
yeah. What a mistake. No, but do you see what I'm saying? Sometimes life, you never know somebody's situation and how they're handling life. So that's like I always say, a stranger is just a friend I haven't met yet, because I try to treat everybody equally and with respect and just be friendly. And I think if a lot of people did that, the world would be a much better place. So my prop piece I'm going to take, I want the laser phaser pistol. All right. Now my rating. I'm always hard on stuff. You guys know this. Eric, you know this. You've done enough of these with me. Bond's starting to figure that out on the main feed. So from everything that I just said, I am giving this episode a 5.5.
Wow.
It's just,
I don't know what just happened.
It's just average. It's just mediocre. It's not going to be in the top 10 list either. I enjoyed it. I just wanted more of what I was seeing. plain and simple. It's, and I hate to say this, but I rated it even lower than last episode. And that's saying something because I really didn't like last episode. But when you take all the thoughts and feelings and questions and the discussions we've had, I think it just comes down a little bit lower than the last episode. And it won't be on my top 10 list. Probably not. I mean, it might sneak in. There might be an honorable mention, but we'll see. So that's going to conclude this episode of the Twilight Zone. If you like what you heard, please subscribe, rate, review. Follow us on the Tragedy of Cinema Facebook page. Eric, Bond, you guys got any last feelings, sentiments? Change your mind, anything?
No, I think I never really considered the friendship point of view, but that is true. I'll take it to the next level. Is like when you have to work with somebody that you feel like you're pulling the wagon all by yourself, and being in that situation and trying to be accommodating and get the work done, but yet try not to kill the person at the same time. Right?
Absolutely.
So the other guys complaining how much he's underappreciated, and
poor Emily.
Emily gets a shout out
again.
Yeah, that's an interesting take.
Right. Because, and I just want to take this moment to thank Rod Serling, because here we are 50 years later talking about a TV show that still holds up, and you can incorporate the stories that he told, and Charles Beaumont and all those wonderful writers, and we can sit here and discuss about stuff that's still happening in our world and correlate them to the episodes, and I think that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Well, with that being said, I think this episode's coming to a close, and that's a wrap.
And
cut.
The case of navigator Peter Craig, a victim of a delusion. In this case, the dream dies a little harder than the man. A small exercise in space psychology that you can try on for size in the Twilight Zone.